The station rocking the World Wide Web. WROC 93.5. The Rock.
It's the all-new, starring Barbara Billingsley, Hugh Beaumont, Tony Dow, and Billy Idol as the Beaver.
Dear, what's happening, Mom? Did you notice how he had his hair cut this afternoon?
No, I didn't see him. Did he have it cut too short?
No, but you should see what he had that barber do to him. Like, it's up on the side, and in the back it sort of goes all like this, and it's all full of oil. Well, honey, but you just have to see it.
Oh, let's take a look at it.
Start again. You see what I mean? Isn't that terrible?
It certainly is.
Boy, he just looks like a gangster. You know, the next thing he's going to be wearing a leather jacket and motorcycle boots.
Come now, dear. You've been watching too many of those live television shows.
Wouldn't you think he could see how ridiculous he looks to us?
Well, I'm sure he will see sooner or later, June, but in the meantime, it's practically impossible for parents to make a boy see himself through their eyes.
Well, I wish he'd see himself through somebody's eyes. I've just about had enough of this.
Beaver, would you pipe down? You're making me nervous.
Today, there's a beer for everyone.
Hey, me and the guys are going out for beer. You want to come along? Nah, I got a lot of data to enter into the computer tonight.
Now, there's a brew for the future.
Want me to bring you something back? Thanks, but I got some right here.
Microsoft Brew.
You got a beer tap on your computer?
With a head so thick you can float a mouse on it.
Let me get this straight. You make your own beer with the computer? With the right software, you can do anything.
Microsoft Brew.
Here, I call this one Windows 95. I don't know, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
And if you got to get there quicker, try the new ISDN malt liquor.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said to me, I bet you won't lend me money to buy an electric guitar. Well, he was making $100 a week, and he was over 18, and I said, I bet you I will lend you money to buy an electric guitar. And I did. So what happens? The punk gets busted for possession of dangerous drugs, and we're out $350. There's one thing about kids nowadays. You don't have to give them credit.
Universal Bank. We trust you. About as far as we can throw you.
You're listening to the Fast Plastic Radio Network. It's about the game.
And welcome to the April 11th edition of Fast Plastic Radio Network. I'm JB, and as always, Billy O. You got your mic turned off. There you go.
Hey, what do you say, JB?
Hey, not much. I didn't know if I was going to make it on time tonight.
Oh, yeah, I know. We got the memo.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a busy day today. Very busy day.
Yeah, well, that happens from time to time. So what was going on?
Well, believe it or not, you know, that was a theme song for a classic 80s television show.
Yeah, I know the guy that wrote that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, believe it or not, I was in the state capital of Illinois today, lobbying our state representatives and senators, trying to get professional rock throwing set up, and trying to get to pass a bill to get that set up here in the state of Illinois.
Well, successful?
Well, I don't know. We'll find out. You know, today was the lobbying day up there, so I was up there lobbying rocks.
Oh, nice. Hopefully he did some damage.
Well, we'll find out once they decide what they're going to do.
But don't get me wrong. There's not a single Illinois politician that needs to be hit in the head with a rock. They're all great. They do a great job.
Absolutely.
I mean, this state is incredible.
It's incredible. I'll say that for sure.
It is.
Absolutely incredible. So how you been doing?
Doing pretty good. Finally got some nice weather today. About, 5 hours ago? Finally, we broke out of winter and it's warmed up. And I'm looking forward to getting out and taking some hacks. with some weapons of choice, so to speak.
Well, good deal.
Yeah, that's not too bad. But one of my other passions is fishing, bass fisherman. I fish tournaments, and our first tournament was April 8th, and didn't happen because of the weather, freezing, snow, high winds.
Really?
Yeah. So if you remember last week, we were talking about how we thought that might affect some of the plastic baseball tournaments going on around the country.
Right.
So I'm curious to know if anybody canceled out. I didn't hear from anybody about any of those cancellations, but I'm sure there were a few.
Well, if they were calling for a lot of snow on Friday, but we dodged that bullet. I know we got some overnight, but it wasn't anything like they said we were going to have. So hopefully it didn't cancel any of the tournaments going on.
Yeah. Well, we got a really cool show tonight. Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
Well,
very excited.
Why?
Well, because I'm not in the state capitol anymore. I made it back here. I broke a few speed laws, I believe, maybe. Not for sure. I know at one point the person with me said when we hit 88 miles an hour, we're going to see some serious stuff. And we seen 88.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw some speed traps going on earlier today around town. First time.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, speed traps here in the city.
Here in the city, yes.
I find that hard to believe, actually.
Yeah, it is hard to believe, but I did see it. But, anyway, back to the show, tonight's show. Pretty good show coming for all the listeners out there. We have probably two of the best hitters to ever play the game on the show tonight. One of them from an earlier era of the game, and one of them through the Middle Ages and resurfaced this year to come back and play a little bit. So
the Middle Ages.
That's
right. Like a long time ago.
Well, in this sports terms, that's not that long ago. But
I thought you were referencing the actual Middle Ages.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they may have played ball back then, but anyway, the Middle Ages, I consider those to be the 90s. And the Dark Ages were before the 90s because there was basically no media exposure.
Right.
And we're in the modern era. But the Middle Ages is also what we call the mush ball era. That's when the ball would collapse. You could just look at the ball and it would just crumble up.
Really?
We call that tacoing. But yeah.
Was it just because they were a cheaper version of the ball?
It was something to do with the factory making the ball. Their molds had worn to a point to where the thickness of the plastic wasn't strong enough.
Right.
So it was thinner. It was a thinner ball.
Okay.
Right.
I got you.
But anyway, the first guest on tonight mastered hitting that ball and had quite the reputation. So anyway,
I noticed that you've got a memo there next to your.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Probably
since I got here late, and
off,
I noticed that my professional rock throwing trophy's been moved.
Yeah. Well, right here.
Okay.
So I got here since you're running late. I got in early this evening and tried to get my part of the show set up. But yeah. So anyway, evidently, cleaning personnel was in here and up here cleaning my part of the studio, and they knocked the damn rock off and broke a toe.
Oh, yeah.
So the memo states that first of all, number one, you're no longer allowed to bring in any more rocks to the studio.
How is that fair? That's what I want to know. How is that fair?
I don't know. And the other thing is that rock must stay in that position, so it can't be out here on the edge like it once was. So
what really sucks about that is I don't know that you can actually see the rock up there now, and that was my one claim to fame in here, was my rock from my competitive rock throwing days.
Well, maybe that's by design.
I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed. I want to ask the listeners and the people watching us live on Facebook and YouTube, if you're as disappointed about this as I am, please email us or message us on Facebook so we can tell management about this and maybe get a pedestal to get it up so it can be seen.
Something just dawned on me. So you were into this rock throwing and you got these rock trophies and all this stuff, right?
Right.
And we broadcast through an FM station called The Rock. How does that happen?
Coincidence?
Is that a coincidence?
I think not.
Okay. Well,
strategic planning, actually.
Well, then let's talk about that then. So obviously JB is the guy that produces the show. He's the engineer. I have an idea. He says, let me see if I can do that. And sure enough, he gets it done. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your broadcasting background?
Well, it started back in the dark ages.
Oh, okay. All right.
Actually, no, broadcasting career. I've been in the broadcasting career probably since about 96, 97. On and off FM, up and down the dial, coast to coast, and then right back here in Southern Illinois. Been on many different stations throughout the area and finally settled with WROC 93.5 The Rock, strictly an internet-based station just for freedom of broadcasting on the internet. There are so many things that you can't do, you can't say on regular FM.
Like what?
Well, you can't say booger, for one thing.
What about nipple?
You can say nipple here, but not on actual FM.
All right.
There's just a lot of things. If I wanted to go on a tangent and have like an outbreak of Tourette's or something right now, I could do that because we're not on FM. And therefore, there's a whole lot of rules that do not apply to us here. So pretty much freedom of speech and being able to play whatever kind of music I choose to play when I want to play it. So whatever strikes me is what I play when I do live shows. And of course, when you're on the FM dial, you've got to play whatever's being programmed by the station that you're with.
So what do they call that in the radio business?
Well, I mean, it's censorship is what it is.
But I always heard the term of like canned.
Oh yeah, canned music. Depending, and it's all bought and paid for by the labels. All your stations that are on the FM dial, wherever you're at in the United States, the label pays these stations to play music and to play them. I go back in the late 90s, Cher had a song, If You Believe in Love, was one of her big hits that came out there in the latter part of the 90s. It was not a very popular song when it came out, but however, the label paid all the stations to play that song every hour. So when you hear something every hour for days on days, it gets caught in your head. And guess what? Then you want to go buy the album.
Then you believe in love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you could turn back time, you could fix that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so, that's definitely some psychological warfare being waged on the everyday Joe. So
it's just a prime example of how the media manipulates people every day. And, one of the things I like to say here at The Rock is we don't want to manipulate anybody. We believe in freedom of speech, and we play what we want, and we say what we want.
Speaking of waging war, did you say something about waging war?
Well, I did, actually, yes.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of that in the news right now, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's getting crazy, but I don't want to go into that. But I do want to go into I might be waging war against another player broadcaster, let's say.
Really?
Very possible.
And who might that be and why?
A declaration of war by Fast Plastic.
It's getting serious.
All right. So to make it quick, make it simple. So when time permits, I try to listen to the other shows out there, podcasts. I've mentioned them many, many times. West Coast Wiffle Report, two Wiffle Dudes podcast. I like the shows. A lot of respect for the guys that do those. It's a lot of work to try to do these and give all the players something to kill time and get their juices flowing, so to speak. But
Right.
Anyway, two wiffle dudes. Carl Coffey's a great guy. No issues with Carl. However, his cohort, his co-host, I believe his name is Josh. I've heard him now at least twice, possibly 3 times, specifically naming Fast Plastic.
Really?
Yeah, basically saying that Fast Plastic sucks. Not in those exact words, but coming out saying it's boring. It's not a very good game. So,
okay, is he bashing the game, the Fast Plastic game, or is he bashing the Fast Plastic show?
He is bashing the style of play.
Okay.
And always mentions Fast Plastic.
Right.
Which I believe he's referring to the fast pitch game. Well, first of all, there's multiple versions of fast pitch ball.
Right.
But he always includes Fast Plastic. Well, Fast Plastic, we've been playing this style going back to the early 90s and beyond.
Sure.
And anyway, my question is, why are you bashing it? Because to my knowledge, you've never played. So what I'm eventually getting at here is...
Can I interject here?
Yeah.
So he's never played fast pitch, is what you're saying?
He's never played Fast Plastic.
Okay.
The Fast Plastic version of fast pitch.
Where's his argument at?
That's my point. Don't bash it until you try it.
Right.
But here's the deal, Josh. I want to keep everything on good terms. I really don't want to declare war on anybody. I'm here trying to promote all the sport together as a whole.
Sure.
But I would be more than happy to welcome you to a debate.
You know, that sounds like a very reasonable request there. I think we should have him on the show and you guys could debate it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I've got to work out some scheduling on my end to see if we've been here. But I think it'd be interesting. But anyway, beware, Josh. I'm listening. Keep saying Fast Plastic sucks. By all means, say it's boring. Say you don't like it. That's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But anyway, let's move on. JB, I got to do some adjustments here on my headphones.
What do you need can you not pull that longer?
I'm going to end up hanging myself over here before the night's over. So I don't know. It wasn't like this last week.
I
The
don't
cleaning
know.
people have moved stuff.
Obviously, yeah. That's
so
what it looks
why
like.
don't you carry us here for a few
All
moments and let me get fixed here.
Okay, so anyhow, as Bill was talking about, it sounds like we've got some interesting topics here. I'm kind of curious what this guy has to say about Fast Plastic. I've played once. It's been a long time ago. Realized it wasn't my game, but you know what? I at least tried it and realized it wasn't my game. So I think if you're gonna fight it or argue it, you should at least try it before you do. And I think that if you want to talk about it, you should call us and talk to us about it. We'll put you on. You can discuss it, and we'll hear your side of it.
Yeah, so I'm back, and I said I wasn't going to say anything else about it, but I will say this. That wasn't good. The version of the game that he likes, I've played that several times. We all started out playing that version, and I think it sucks. It's boring.
Let me ask you, was that like a mic drop there? Drop the bat?
Yeah. All right. So what's up next here? So next week, we're going to have some changes in here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do some upgrades, some changes. Management here is we're getting good ratings here on the show, getting good reviews. And of course, they're wanting to.
We had a little complex field where we played football, basketball, baseball, and we both were pretty good. And as we got older, we got really good going on up in through the 80s. And then later on into I think maybe 1990, we played a little bit and then it stopped. Well, later on in my days, I eventually ended up playing ball with our guest coming on the show, Mark DeMacy. And he lived in Georgia. Still does. And my buddy that I grew up with playing ball in this little town in the Midwest ended up moving to Georgia. So over time, these two guys have kids, and they both end up having sons that are about the same age, and both are very good baseball players. And turns out that the bopper, Mark DeMacy, ends up coaching my buddy Rob's son for a couple of years.
That is a small world.
How about that? So maybe I'll talk just a touch about that when we bring Mark on. But anyway, I think that's good to get us going here with our first guest. Is he on the line?
Absolutely. He is on the line. I want to welcome to the show, to the Fast Plastic Radio Network, right from Atlanta, Georgia, we have Mark DeMacy.
How you doing, Mark?
Hey, good. How you doing, Bill?
All right. You're going to have to turn down your radio in the back, or if that's all in the family, you'll have to turn that off, one of the two.
All right. So, let me see.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of delay there.
Yeah, definitely hear that.
Is that better?
Yeah, there you go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Tell me if it comes back and I click on this. All right, I'll shut that. Is that better?
Yeah.
I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you two ugly mugs anyhow. So
yeah.
What's been going on?
Not much, man. It's good to get you on the show. I think it's been probably 2 or 3 years at least since I talked to you. So anyway, just first thing I want to ask you is someone sent me a text or something the other day stating that maybe you're thinking about getting back into the game and, you know, maybe play a couple here and there, whatever. When was actually the last time that you played?
When I played the last tournament with the Avengers, when I had to get the cortisone shot in my rotator just to go out and throw a wiffle ball.
Yes.
I'm sure you remember that.
Yeah. What was that, like 04?
Yeah, it was a battle against Banyan's team that we fell short.
Yeah, against
But it was good. It was a good ride. Me, Dion, and Kurt. That was a good ride. Nobody expected us to go that far.
That was actually, I think that was 2003, Mark. Again, when you guys ended up playing the Vipers, yeah. So
yeah.
So what caused you back then? When did you decide just to give it up? What happened?
Basically, having kids, and spending more time with them, and basically when Rich and you, we parted ways, and you playing out there because it was easier for you than me flying out every month. And at the time when I was married, getting yelled at all the time that you're cuckoo, that you keep flying all the way out to LA every 2-3 weeks. So I mean, I figured if I wasn't gonna play with you and Rich, it just wasn't working. It wasn't the same. Good times we had. So
oh yeah.
It just wasn't the same.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Who knows? Come October, you and Rich are willing to do it. I'll be in probably the best shape of my life. I'm ready to come out there and see what these young guns have.
Yeah, well, that'd be really cool, man, if you could get back out into the game. I can tell you from 2004 to currently, my opinion, it's a hell of a lot easier to hit today than what it used to be. However,
it's easy to hit. Get it.
Well, the game's changed quite a bit, but one of the factors that has changed is the pitching is better, meaning the ball is in play. It's in the hitting zone a lot more often than what it used to be. So in my opinion, that makes it easier to hit. So,
oh yeah.
But going back, I want to really talk about, how you got into the sport. When was it? I know you're a New Yorker. Why did you start playing wiffle ball? I know you got a very deep background of playing baseball, but everybody manages to transition over to wiffle ball. So tell me about your transition.
Well, basically, when I got out of the military, I still was in pretty good shape, tore my rotator, had it rehabbed, so the 90-mile-an-hour days were over for me, and I still had the desire to compete. And I met this one guy and threw the wiffle ball around, hit, and I noticed we used to play 1-on-1s, and we had 2-on-2s and 3-on-3s, and it was just like regular baseball with no running, and the juices started flowing. And then I saw, I think, a post, and it might have been you, how we posted and got together, and then we got another post from a kid out in Iowa, the younger one, since he was still a teenager. And I remember we just said, hell, we didn't know each other. We said we're gonna show up in Hamilton Park in Cincinnati, Ohio, and see how we do. And man, that was something special. There was a lot of key highlights from taking down one of the big guns, maybe two big guns before we lost in the I think it was the finals. Palanzar slapped us around. Couldn't hit him, but beating Lakeside. I remember that when I hit that 2-run bomb to tie the game off a bone. And he's like, who the heck is this kid that did that? And then you coming up in the bottom of the inning and hitting that walk-off single, and everybody was just going crazy. And I don't think Legend those guys like that. Who are these kids that coming up here and beating us? This is our show.
Yeah.
But after that, the rest is history. They had to deal with us. So, all these pitchers that have been out there, I've always had the best pitcher, and I'd take you over anybody, any day. You knew how to win, and, your arm. I remember Rich O was putting the Bengay on your arm and rubbing it in the free movie hotels.
Yeah, that was some classics days. But all right, so let me talk a little bit about that first Cincinnati tournament. So you were right. You and I met through the NJWA. The hell was it called? Guest book.
Baseball site, maybe. No. Guest book.
Yeah, it was a guest book. Yeah. Like on the old websites, you have a guest book, and you just get in, you sign in, say, "Hey, my name's Bill. I was here. Great site," something like that. Well, I had moved from Atlanta to California, and I was looking for somebody to play. But I think just before that, I'd posted on that website that I'm looking for somebody in Georgia to team up with to go back to Cincinnati. So now I'm in California. One day I get a phone call, and it's this guy with this real thick New York accent on the phone. And I'm like, who the hell is this? Well, it was you. And you're like, hey, I saw your post. I'm wanting to play some ball. So you and I talked 2 or 3 times, and we both decided we're going to go to Cincinnati. And the other stipulation that we had was there was this third guy, Dion, that I'd played with the previous year. And I wasn't sure if he's wanting to play anymore because I moved away. I figured maybe he found another player. So I was going in it thinking it was you and I think you were thinking the same thing. And then all of a sudden Dion somehow gets a hold of me, or he gets a hold of you. And now we've got Dion with us. So the 3 of us go to Cincinnati. I'd never watched you play. You'd never seen me play. Didn't know the first thing about each other. Get out on the field. And I remember this is just like we're sitting here right now. I got out in that first game, and like the first inning, I couldn't throw a strike. Something was going on. And I remember you were playing like shortstop, and you had a knee brace on and all this stuff. You're complaining. And I'm thinking to myself, who in the hell is this guy? What have I gotten myself into? And you were thinking the same thing. You're like, oh my God, this guy can't play. He can't throw a strike. What am I doing? Well, lo and behold, it all come together for us. And like you said, we get all the way to the championship. So that was our first experience. And the entire time, the whole duration of us playing together, it was just one experience after another for a period of about 7 years or so. So pretty interesting story. But you did mention some big games, you know, that we played over the years. Again, this is Mark DeMacy. You guys may know him as being called the Bopper. You know, the reason why he was called the Bopper, I believe, is because of some of the mammoth home runs that he hit over the years, like Ruthian, Babe Ruthish. So thinking back about these games, you know, that come to mind, like the very first time I think Joe Nord ever lost a game was because you hit a home run off of him. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. But Joe was tough, man. He was tough, but, you know, he went to the well once too many with that drop ball. For some reason, you know, you throw me drop balls, you're gonna pay, because it's gonna go a long way if I connect on it.
Yeah, we showed up in New Jersey, and in the box shows up Tom Frank, and they got this young kid, Mariano. They keep saying Mariano, and we get him first game of the day. I think they even had Bruce on their team, Bruce Christie.
Yeah, they had Christie, they did.
Yeah. So we're out there, I don't know, the game, you know, it's early in the morning. There's dew on the grass. It's a little chilly, and we get to Nord early, and he's just looking at you. He's baffled, like, how the hell are you guys hitting this? And I remember I talked to Rich not too long ago, and he says that he swears that whenever you swung and hit that pitch, you instantly knew it was gone. He says, you said it's gone, you know. But anyway, welcome to the big leagues, Joe Nord. That's basically the message sent.
Yeah. Joe is tough.
Then there was another young phenom that came up through the ranks. Lakeside always was another team that could find these young players. Anyway, a kid named Ryan Hunsel, who basically came into the sport around 99, and he dominated. I mean, he was it. And the first time we played him, I remember we beat him. I broke
his cherry on that one.
Yeah.
I hit one way off him too.
Yeah, I remember that was
I remember that.
That was in Philadelphia Freedom.
We went. It's the first time we put up the wood fences and everything, and you know, we just went to business as usual, mowing through everybody. Everybody keep shaking hands. How do those three guys keep beating everybody?
Then another one here, and I'll get off this here in a minute, but another great, you know, for anybody listening, you're going to understand the first time you face a great pitcher, you usually don't have much success. That wasn't the case for the Bopper, but the first Ike Saltez, who at this time may have been the best pitcher, 97 at the national championship. We got him in the early rounds of the tournament, but we lit him up, and you did more than anybody. But I remember, I can remember that game well, and he was just looking around at Freddie and Poundsar thinking, what the heck's going on here? But I mean, I just remember seeing ball after ball after ball going off the fence, over the fence, and I don't know. We lost the game, but we scored often off of him.
Yeah. He just kept throwing the same pitch. Every time he tried to throw the rise, he couldn't throw for strikes, so he had to come back with his. I mean, he had a great, but I saw it so well out of his hand. It was like somebody was giving me a medium rare steak, you know?
Yeah.
I was ready to jump on that thing.
Yeah, so another great game. I haven't ever seen this done in a game since or before. We were playing a championship game. I don't remember the tournament. It was somewhere on the East Coast, and there was a team called the Shamokin Short Bussers. Remember these guys?
Yeah.
And I
remember that.
They had a pitcher. He was pretty good. He was like three or four pitch pitcher, you know, riser, slider, 3 pitch, whatever, you know, he could throw pretty good. This is mush ball era. We got them in the championship game, and the Bopper hits 3 consecutive home runs off of him in the championship game. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
I remember that.
You used the old aluminum king stick, so it made this really the classic ping, and it just crushed those kids. I mean, they were younger than us. You and I are about the same age, but that was a thing that you were really good at, is you knew how to crush a guy's spirit. You could get in their head and play that game like no other, except when it came to the A-Bros.
Oh man, Chad, what is it? Chad had my number.
Yeah.
Chad had, I think that's the only guy I haven't homered off of that I faced consistently is Chad. He had my number. I mean, he knew where to throw it, where I couldn't reach it. He would not leave it over the plate. Everything would be like under my chin, and then come in, take it, and hit the corner, unhittable. He was the toughest pitcher I've ever faced, bar none.
Really?
And there were some great pitchers out there that I faced, but him, man, Chad had it. And even though we hated those guys, Chad was the real deal.
Yeah,
I loved when his uncle pitched and when Charlie Bianco pitched, because Charlie would always leave one up there for me to hit a long way. But not Chad. That was he showed zeros pretty much all the way across every time he pitched.
Yeah, he's talking about Chad Anderson of the A-Bros. He won the MVP 2001. And last week we talked a little bit about Fiacco, who I thought was probably overall was the most dominating. But there was a video that got posted.
He was tough to hit. He was more. I mean, he was a great hitter. He was tough to hit if you chased his stuff. You had to sit there and wait for him to throw that one pitch that you knew you were going to hit.
Yeah.
And, when he threw it, you had to hit it because he would make a mistake every at bat. He would give you a pitch to hit. But if you didn't get it, then all you would see, one pitch, let's just say equivalent, 70 miles an hour. And then where the hell did that thing come from? 90. You couldn't even get the wiffle ball bat off your shoulder. It was, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Like, holy stink.
Yeah,
Charlie could mix it up.
He could take it, just walk up the steps, taking it up a higher level each pitch. It seemed to me that way. But
he never did. He only did it when he felt like it. He wasn't like, he didn't have that killer instinct like Chad had. Chad was like, you're not even going to foul tip my ball.
Yeah.
He'd get mad if you foul tip his ball.
Yeah, the A-Bros, man, they had our number. I mean, the long shots, the team that we played on, we went on one hell of a run from 97 all the way through to the 2001 season. We won a couple championships, like we won the Summer Showdown. The following year, we came right back and won Philadelphia Freedom, which had all the best teams there. We won that. We won a scattering of tournaments in between. We're always at odds within the box of who's the best. But the A-Bros in 2001, I honestly believe that was the demise of the long shots. We could not figure out how to beat those guys.
I think we beat them. I think we beat them the first time we played them, a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
And then they ran off like 6 games against us, and they just killed it. They just were in our heads. We couldn't beat them no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, and then that's when you figured you go jump on with Banyan and the boys, and you're like that's why I think Kevin Durant followed your lead. You can't beat them, join them. Join those teams.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother story that I'm going to be getting into on another show. But that's your opinion. I do remember we sitting in my living room in L.A. You, Rich, and I, and we're going through the struggles of a team that just can't figure out how to win anymore, and we just said, to hell with it, we're done. You remember that? I mean, that was pretty hard.
Yeah, because it does. It sucks. People don't realize Winning is everything. I don't want to finish second. And those boys, man, they just, we get all the way, and there they are. Some of it is SOBs, man. Cat there with a little goofy smile. Yeah, weird shorts he used to wear. And we knew even Rich was defeated. And, it was time for a change. You know what I mean? It was a great run. It was a great run. I mean, we came out of nowhere, nowhere. People knew you from a couple tournaments, but, they saw this guy with this, when I had hair, a head full of hair, all curls all over the place, a knee brace, a little chunky, and he can't play. And then next thing you know, we're destroying everything. The first one, remember that team from Portland? The pitcher was Lindsay.
Oh yeah.
In the first game of the first tournament we played out there, and I put that ball over that field. It went out in 2 seconds. He couldn't believe it. And that was a team that never could beat us either. We had their number. I think that's the reason why they folded. Because the first couple of tournaments, they always got us, and they always lit them up.
Yeah, that Lindsay, he's a guy I forgot about. He played some minor league ball, I believe. He was really good, but but he got what ended his career. He got in a car wreck and was injured pretty bad. That was in 98 or 99, and the Portland Bandos. That was the name of that team.
That was it.
Yep.
Yeah, they came to. Remember, we hosted the tournament in Georgia.
Yeah.
We played on the field. I built that park, and then we used the other field with the ivy.
Yeah, I do.
And we went. Everybody came in, and we were a good host. We just destroyed everybody.
So, one of the most famous games ever played in all of competitive wiffle is the game where you and I, we came back together as the long shots. I think this was in 2004, and we made it to Texas, the NCT. We were the Georgia champions. Troop was running tournaments, and we won that region. Went to the NCT. And we had a game plan, and we picked up this young kid, this teenager, Nick Shirey. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, our plan is that Shirey's going to eat up innings as needed. I would pitch us on through, and I was going into that tournament thinking that, we're going to get to the Final Four. I mean, I didn't know who was going to knock us off. Well, we ran into a team called the Gunners. And as I said, this may be the most famous game ever. And do you remember here what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I hit a couple of bombs, and I think everybody was in awe of one. I hit one that still could be going. I think that was the longest ball anybody ever, because I remember everybody just going crazy. And I remember, was it Derek? Derek was pitching, threw me the drop, and to see his reaction on that base, that was priceless. But yeah, that thing just, with the background being at night and the moon and going up into the trees over there, man, I still remember that. It was yesterday.
Yeah,
that was one of those once in a lifetime. You just wow.
That
was a Babe Ruth shot.
Jared Lamp at Moonshot Bats should have had your endorsement for your name on his bats, because you're right, the moon was over the woods and the ball just sailed right into the moon. But so let me explain exactly how this game goes down. So it's very controversial because, first of all, you and I had a long history with the Gunners, battling them in LA, and Derek was always fiery, and so we'd played them many, many, many times, and usually I think we'd beaten them almost every single time. They may have knocked us off once, but I think head-to-head record going in.
That was the first time they beat us.
Oh, okay. So maybe we were 8-0, something like that. Derek will probably text me and cuss me out. But so anyway, so we meet them at the NCT. This is the playoffs, and Shirey says he'll pitch. He gets out there, and you're trying to get in the gunners' heads. Derek's trying to get in your head. Gary Peterson was pitching for them, and
oh yeah,
Shirey, he's warmed up. He goes to deliver the pitch. Derek steps out of the batter's box, says, "Timeout, hold up." And Shirey, rather than delivering the ball, he decides to try to stop. And he said would he pop his elbow?
Yeah.
Pop something in his elbow, couldn't throw anymore. So at this time, you know, I don't know if we're tied, what's going on exactly with the score, but it's heated. There's a lot of people watching the game because it's one of the last games going on that evening. And there was a lot riding on the game for every team there. And so I have to come in. I'm trying to get loose, and I never have been able to come into a game as a reliever and throw. You know, I usually back then it'd take me a game or two to really get going good. But I couldn't get loose. I come into the game, and I can just remember just mouths just chirping, you know, oh, Derek, you know, running it up on me, saying he's going to light me up and all this. So I tried to motivate myself. And I looked over at the gunners as we were walking off the field. I walked by the gunners. I said, all right, let's dial it up, bitch. You know, well, it turned out that was the wrong thing to say. So I couldn't get loose. They hit 2, 3, 4 home runs off of me. I never heard the end of it. But the whole thing is that every home run that they hit, you would step in the box and hit one even further. And then you say, yeah, I can remember you saying, how you like that, you know, and just unbelievable. Anyway, so at the NCT Fields in Cedar Park, it was just an amazing complex where we used to hold these tournaments. There was a strip of woods between two of the fields, and that ended up being called Boppers Woods because there were so many wiffle balls that you hit that ended up lost out there. But anyway, I've been told by a lot of people that that's probably the most infamous game ever. Just people enjoyed watching it. So you were a part of history in that one.
Oh, it was back and forth knockout. You know, it was a high scoring game.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I talked to.
We were set up good until he got hurt. So Nick got hurt.
I talked to Derek Anderson a few years back, and we were reminiscing about that game, and he still didn't let me hear the end of it. So, so we can tell all these stories about hitting, you know, how you were you're in top 5 in my top 5 hitters of all time, even though I don't like telling you that. But I don't need to pump your ego up anymore. But you could also pitch quite a bit. You could pitch a lot. You could pitch really well. You could throw really hard. But the thing is, you never really had to pitch. But
no, I never had to. We always had you. You know. We just out there. You pitch, we hit.
But there were times, like you were saying earlier, the 2003, NCP, you pitched every game for the Avengers and almost knocked off the champion Vipers, you know, on what? You're like 30th inning. So
yeah.
Where did your pitching skills come from? How did you develop that?
I pitched. I remember getting home, me and my little brother. We had these, and we would just battle it. I knew how to do the riser, that. What I always used to have is that underhand submarine ball that would start way outside and come back and hit that low corner where it was unhittable. And I learned that, you know, those are the two pitches I always threw growing. I always knew how to pitch. I just never did because, you know, when I started playing with you, we had you, and I was like, yeah, well, he has that funky thing. But what kind of pitch is that? That friggin' drop ball that nobody, it was like after, like you and Salt was it. Then everybody else started learning how to throw that ball. And then I started messing around with it, and I was like, oh, it's a good pitch. And I kind of didn't master it, but it was good enough. where you had to look for it. If you didn't, I would just throw that ball right by you.
Yeah.
So, basically the drop from you all the time. I used to, and when I got to the Avengers, Dion could throw a strike, as you know, and Kurt wasn't a pitcher. So, like I said, going into that tournament, I went to the doctor and I told her I need a cortisone shot, and she laughed when I told her to go play wiffle ball. But I said, "Give me the shot." I got the shot, and I made it through all those innings. So.
Yeah, if we would have had the awards set up correctly back then, I think back then we just awarded the MVP, which Balian won that year, but we should have had a Cy Young and an MVP. You would have won one of the two awards. I'm pretty sure of that. Although guests coming on later maybe would have something to say about that, but you definitely carried a team and from both aspects. And I don't know, back then that was really doing something. But you had a pitch too that always amazed me. You called it the one finger. You remember that? The one finger.
Uncle Charlie.
It was a big,
Uncle Charlie.
Yeah, big, huge curveball.
Curveball.
Nobody.
You used to laugh when people try to hit it.
So you picture, let me lay out the groundwork for this. So you see this guy, I don't know, you're what, 6'3", 6'2",
6'1",
6'1", big guy, Babe Ruth looking guy.
280, 290.
And, whenever he did pitch, he could throw hard, 80s. And you just see this guy out on the mound, and all of a sudden here comes this curveball out of nowhere. And it was just so strange to see that. It would be way, way up high and way behind a right-handed hitter and drop in, for a strike. Guys couldn't even foul it off. I mean, today, a lot of guys have developed that. But back then, at the level that we were playing, you did not see that pitch. And it just mesmerized the hitter. So that was pretty cool. And then I can remember being in Connecticut, right there where it all started, and nobody could handle you at all playing in that huge New England tournament up there. That was.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I used to love going up to John Wynn's tournament. That was good.
Yeah, that was
good.
We played up there in '97 in the fall. You and I, 2-man team. We ran into another 2-man team and had a classic battle. It was in the box, the Ocasio brothers. I had Tom on the show a couple months ago, and we talked a little bit about that. That was the first time ever. Well, one of many, 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 many games to come with In the Box.
Yeah, that was a love-hate relationship, but I'll tell you what, we respected them, and they respected us. They knew that they were getting.
Yeah, but
that was great. Always playing them. It was great always playing them.
But here's the thing: what would always happen, and it would piss me off, is so you would give me this pre-tournament speech. We'd be in the hotel room. You're like, "All right, we're going out there. We're not letting up. We're bulldogging it. We're gonna beat the hell out of everybody. We're not showing any love, nothing." I'll be like, all right, let's do it. And then we'd meet up within the box somewhere, and I'd look over, and there you and Frank are sitting side by side, got your arm around each other. I used to call it love Italian style. I'm like, what the hell are you guys?
You're not supposed to tell anybody how to soft side. Must be that hard ass,
Yeah.
You would hate to see me now, how soft I am now.
Yeah. So, is there any other big moments out there that that come to mind? Like, so whenever you're sitting at home and you think about wiffle ball, is there any one specific memory that pops in your head?
When we won the New Jersey Showdown, when nobody gave a chance to win that thing, and we ran through everybody and listen to all that trash talk, crying with Danny, and to beat them and see them walk with their head between their legs was just priceless.
Yeah.
Priceless. That was probably the greatest pitching display I've seen. And you went in there. I remember you were dying. And like I said, Rich would rub that Bengay on you for half an hour. I'm like, this is strange. I'm thinking, guys, you want me to leave the room and come back later? I mean, but yeah, you get out there the next day and it was like nothing. You'd be like, boom, nobody touch you. And then me and Rich just had to get 1 or 2 big hits, and it was over. We gave you 2 runs, 1 or 2 runs. It was over. We knew it. You get that killer instinct, and it was done. We got ahead of you. You were done. You were done.
There was one moment in that tournament that I have it captured on video, but it's pretty incredible. So we were playing Lakeside. We were on Pat Pone, and it was a Final Four matchup. Lakeside set up defensively in a shift. So they were playing you to pull your right-hander. So everybody's over on the third base side. And I don't remember who was pitching, Crying maybe. He throws you a pitch, and you hit the ball purposely, like drove it into the ground on the right side, and it gets through the infield. And that's what ends up breaking the game open. I'm like, how in the hell did he do that? Yeah. So, so how did you end up with the nickname The Bopper, by the way?
I think that was you.
Wasn't me.
I think you were sitting down one day. It was either you or Rich. I think it was Rich, because he was following us around. He wasn't with us in Ohio. He just showed up in Cincinnati. He didn't have a team, and he was just following us around. And he followed us around, and I think when I hit the home run off of Bone, he was sitting there behind the green thing, and he goes, "Way to go, Bop!" And that was it. Everybody started stuck after that. But it was Rich. He wasn't even playing in the tournament. He would carry his little bag around and follow us, and then after that, we hooked up with Rich after that. But yeah, Rich is the one that came up with that.
Yeah, it may have been. I'm still not sure on that. I'm gonna have to find out, but that sounds familiar. Let's hang with us 1 second. We're gonna take a real quick station break here, and then I got 1 or 2 more things to talk to you with. And JB, what do you got?
We'll just throw. Well, we're getting close on time, but we'll just throw this out real quick, okay?
All right.
You're listening to the Fast Plastic Radio Network. Fast Plastic Radio Network.
All right, we're talking with Mark DeMacy, known as the Bopper. Played was one of the best, one of the greatest hitters, players going back from the 90s through about 2004. You've been out of the sport for a long time now, and you pretty much dedicated all your free time to baseball and getting your boys to play the game well, right? I mean, they're like stud baseball players in the state of Georgia.
They're better than I ever was. Actually, my oldest son, and it's been a tough year. He hasn't got a lot of playing time, which it blows my mind. It's just one of those things, Coach. But he got in today. They finally started in the game, and he hit his first college homer. It was a massive blast to right center. It must have been, it was like a Judge or a Stanton homer. 300 feet in the air and 400 feet. It was massive. So it's good to see that, because he's very talented. And I think he's going to get drafted. Not this year, but over the next couple of years, when he gets the playing time he deserves, he's just going to go off. The power is unbelievable. Lefty swing it's unreal. He's a 5'2" kid. And the younger one, he's a little stocky and stuff, but he's got his baseball IQ is unbelievable. Every time I go to the mound to talk to my pitcher. He comes over from first base and then starts talking. I have to tell him, Drew, one day you will be a coach. Me, coach, right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're two good players, and I've been coaching the travel ball for 10 years now, and this year they're all rising. They're going to be rising seniors come May. I got 4 lefties, which I call them the 4 horsemen. 4 lefties that are going to go on and play college baseball, and 1 or 2 might even go further than that. One kid is he's 6'6", lefty. I mean, and his potential's untapped. If he could put 20, he's like 6'6", 175. If he could put another 30 pounds on him, he'd be throwing in the 90s, and just it pays for his college and everything else. So, and he's a 2020. He's going to be a 2020 grad. So, I mean, I got some guys some kids that I coached since they were little, and to see them where they are now, where, when they were growing up, people wouldn't give them the chance. And I'm pretty good judge on talent. And, I love lefties. If you're a lefty pitcher, I want you, because I'll make you into something.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. That's my passion. That's what I do, and I can't wait till May comes around. So I get back out there on the field and try to get these guys some scholarships for college this year.
What you're telling me then is you shouldn't have any issue at all finding some ringer wiffle ball players to get you a team together.
Yeah, but you don't want to ruin their arms this early playing wiffle ball. When they have shots to go to college and stuff, I don't want to. First of all, if they're gonna play wiffle ball against me, I don't care how old I am. You're gonna have to bring it, because I hate losing. I hate losing, and I swing the wiffle ball bat the first time in like 6-7 years, maybe longer. Last weekend, and oh my God, I lost 38 pounds so far in the last couple of months, and what a difference! I'm ready to go. I mean, I don't care. I'm 51. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to come back in there and see what these young kids have. I want to make one last. Hey, I'm coming. I think me, you, and Rich should get together. And like I said, I'm going to be in my best shape of my life probably as an adult come October. And I'm all game going to Texas. If you guys are in, I'm in. Just I want you guys to be ready, because I don't want to show up like I showed up the first tournament. Look, like, who the heck is this guy, man? He can't throw a strike. I want that. Yeah. We go there. We want to win. Whether we win or not, we want to win.
Well, that's cool. That's I'm glad you're doing that. Why didn't you ever do that? Oh, yeah. 15 years ago. What the hell? You get comfortable with stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like the Babe. Give me a couple beers and a hot dog, and I'll hit you a couple home runs.
That's true. That's exactly. I remember you telling me we're in a hotel somewhere in Massachusetts or New York or somewhere, and you're like, "Look, all I need is a 2-liter of Coke, and I'm good to go." And I was looking at you like, first, how in the hell can you drink a 2-liter of Coke? But you could do it,
I just used to drink Coke. Yeah, everybody says, I don't have a beer belly. I have a soda belly. That's what I used to tell everybody. And they're like, what? I said, yeah, I did. But I cut out pretty much Coke for good. So, like I said, I'm looking forward to do it. This is something that's a goal of mine. I like to see what the new generation is like. See if they are the same that when we went out there. When we were out there, it was a different brand of wiffle ball. It was full tilt. There were no prima donnas around.
Well, I can tell you that you would really enjoy it now, because the guys know how to pitch. They're throwing strikes. Everything is there, and if you're a guy that likes to swing the bat, you're going to have a lot of fun. So you would love it.
Yeah, but I got to get into it. 20 plus years,
Yeah.
17, whatever it is.
So the last thing. I'm sorry. I was going to say the last thing I'm going to say here. Somebody asked me to ask you this. So back when you and I played together, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't care, but it's pretty cool thing is you called all my pitches. You remember, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
yep.
For whatever reason, if I chose to throw my own pitch, it just didn't work. So Mark, we developed a system where he called my pitches. So, and Mark did this in a fashion that he would get into the hitters' heads. I mean, it wasn't like, he's flashing me secret signs or anything. He purposely had a system, and it worked. So anyway, a guy Nick Shirey sent me a text wanting to know why you called the drop Mary Lou.
Oh, because, that was between me and you. Nobody else would pay attention to us. And I'd be saying the different pitches, man. And Mary Lou, that just stuck because, man, you couldn't touch it. That thing was the finest looking thing around, and everybody wanted it. And you know what? They weren't getting it. You throw that thing and you say, sit down. She's too good for you.
Yeah, I told him I thought it was. I know you talked a lot about a lot of hitters out there look like they played for Mary's School of the Blind, and
oh yeah, yeah. He swings the bat like Mary's School of the Blind.
Yeah, that was one of your classic.
Throw the ball right by.
Yeah,
so. I had a lot of one-liners for a lot of people. A lot of nicknames I would give people. Some not too nice, but you know what? Hey, you deserve the nickname, especially those kids that would just get in and try to get under your skin, and they come in and they think who the heck they are. They beat everybody in their driveway, and then they come out, and we send them back to their driveway. But we keep their wiffle ball and bat,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
those are good times. I miss those. I miss all hanging out with the legs and crying and salt and the Run Factory, which that was always the best. And
yeah, those
Howard
days.
And
as far as I know, all those guys are gone. Salt showed up a couple years ago and played. And other than that, most of those guys are gone. But anyway, I appreciate coming on the show tonight. Bopper, always good talking to you. We'll have to get you back on again later on in the year. You can tell us how your progress is coming along. And hopefully we've got some more good stories we can talk about.
Oh, yeah, and I definitely enjoyed this, and I will definitely talk to you off the air, too, and because we're making this happen. You're not going to get out of it. We're going to make this happen. At least once, we go out there, have fun, rekindle, talk about the good old days, have some beers, and enjoy it.
I'm with you. All right, man. Well,
you guys take care. Nice talking to you.
All right. See you. That was Mark DeMacy, the Bopper.
The Bopper. All right. Good call.
Running a little long on time. Are we looking all right? What do you think?
Well, we probably need to take a short break here. We got to, have some sponsors pay our way. So stick around. We'll be right back here on 93.5 The Rock with Fast Plastic Radio Network.
The station rocking the World Wide Web. WROC 93.5 The Rock.
Hi, Gordon. What you been up to? Big things, Fred. I'm a full-time student at bartending college. Wow. I never had time for a formal education. Well, I decided to make time, but it's not easy. Bartending college is a 4-week course. Gee, how far along are you? Well, let's see. This is Tuesday, the 3rd week. Hey, I'm a junior, and I'm late for a daiquiri lecture. Why don't you join me? Why not?
Bartending college. You've already spent enough time on the other side of the bar to qualify for enrollment. Go! Bartending college. You'll learn how to roll drunks, water the liquor, and skim the cash register. And remember, as the bartender, you drink for free. Last call for integrity.
Hello, I'm Frank Bartles, and this here's my partner, James Brown. As the weather starts getting too hot, we hope you will reach for one of these. New Bartles and James Brown wine cooler.
It tastes good.
They come in 3 funky flavors. Gravity grape, prime of passion fruit, and my personal favorite, papaya.
Papaya's got a brand new bag.
It'll get you off faster than a big city lawyer. And a single pack just like James.
New Bartles and James Brown wine coolers. The cooler, made in the cooler.
Now behind bars everywhere.
Do you know there are only 44 sounds in the English language? When you learn these 44 sounds, you can read and spell almost everything. It's James Brown's Phonics. We've set these 44 sounds to music, making learning to read simple and fun. Learn these 44 sounds, and you'll be getting on the good foot, just like the godfather of soul. James Brown's Phonics. Call 1-800. That's 1-800.
This is Alice Cooper for Recording Artists Against Drunk Driving. There's a lot of things we have no control of in this world, but that's not the case with drunk driving. If you're going to drink, don't drive. Think ahead and choose a designated driver.
No more Mr. Nice Guy. No more Mr. Clean.
Public service message brought to you by the Ad Council, the Department of Transportation, National Association of Broadcasters, and RAD.
You're listening to
Recording Artists Against Drunk Driving. There's a lot of things we have
Radio Network.
And we're back to the Fast Plastic Radio Network. I'm JB.
Hey, and I'm Bill O. Billy O. Bill O.
Oh. Gotcha.
All right, we had Mark DeMacy on. Just wrap that one up. Pretty good conversation. A lot of old stories there. One thing I want to plug here real quick. The West Coast Wiffle Report is coming back stronger than ever. Talking to Jim Dalby quite a bit, and sounds like he's got a new co-host coming on the show, Greg Edwards, who's a former he is a former national champion from the Vipers.
Really?
Yes, he is. So that would be some really good insight to add to that show. I think Jim said that Brock will be coming into the show off and on. So that's going to be exciting. Again, West Coast Wiffle Report with Jim Dalby and Greg Edwards. Also, JB, some news here about something we'll be adding to the show.
Tell us.
Okay, so there's a guy out there that runs a website called, I think it's wiffleballtournaments.com.
Absolutely.
And you can go there and you can see all the tournaments and leagues, scheduling, everything going on in this great world of ours. Anyway, I've talked to him, and we're going to be patching him into the show each week, and he will give us a brief rundown of what we got on tap for. So today's Wednesday, so most tournaments occur on Saturdays, most league play.
Right.
So he'll kind of tell us what's going on and about what he's got going on with his website and with his team. So Adam Milstead. So I'm excited to get Millsy on the show. A lot of guys out there know him. I think he plays on a team called Way Too Beautiful. So that's going to be a great addition to the Fast Plastic Radio Network.
That'll be pretty cool, actually.
Yes, it will. Next week's show.
Got some big lineups there, don't we?
I've actually got guys lined up right now going into May. But I can tell you, these guys will drive you nuts trying to get scheduling done. That's the hardest part about doing this show. But next week, I did have Jim Ballion and Sean Steffi lined up for next week. And
big names.
Ballion, I call him the ever elusive Jim Ballion. He got a hold of me and says he can't get in next week due to some other issue going on. So I'm going to bring in a different guest to fill his slot, but Sean Steffi will be on with the Fast Plastic guys here next week. You know him as Wiffle Boy 28. And I think that will be great to have Sean in to our new studio setup.
That'll be pretty cool.
Yes, it will. So our next guest here tonight is no stranger to championships, no stranger to high level of play. Ryan DeRoche, also one of the greatest hitters to ever play. Plays for my current team, GSW. been around for a long time. I can tell you some really good stories about Ryan. I've known him since he was a young kid. One thing that I do remember about Ryan is we were in a tournament out in LA one time, and I think we were playing the Las Vegas Whifflers, and I was pitching that game. I started the game, and Vegas can hit. I mean, there's no question these guys can hit. And I felt like I was starting to run out of gas. I didn't want to give up any big bombs or anything. So Joel had to come in and do some relief work. Well, Joe's not a relief pitcher. It's, he wants the ball and he's going to go until he can't go anymore. So he came in, he started giving up hits. Well, Ryan, we got into the bench and Ryan looked at him and said, dude, what's your problem? Are you going to try? So they started going back and forth. And I remember I kind of stepped over and said, hey, guys, this is my fault. I couldn't finish the game. But that shows you how intense these guys are. It was just never say die. Once you got on the field with them, you got the best every single time. So at this time, we got Ryan on the show. Let's bring him on.
We do. Right here is Ryan DeRoche from California, Bay Area.
How you doing, Ryan?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, you guys? Good hearing from you guys.
Yeah, it's really cool to have you on the show tonight. Where exactly are you tonight?
So I'm actually Tracy, California. So born and raised here, and actually a little bit on the outskirts of Tracy, little town called Mountain House.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, so you're Central California, pretty much, not too far from the Bay Area.
Correct. Probably about an hour east.
Yeah. So I want to start right out. I'm going to get right into it, Ryan. Big question here. I always thought about asking guys this a lot, and I always seem to forget. But why do you play wiffle ball?
It has just kind of always been in the family. I mean, I remember playing. Some of our earliest memories is probably playing with Grandpa in his front yard, and then obviously playing with my dad and brother. But it's just kind of always been in the family. Some of our best friends that we met since childhood, we grew up together playing wiffle ball in my grandparents' front yard. And then it slowly transitioned to playing wiffle ball in parents' backyard. One thing led to the next, but it was always there. It was always something, especially during baseball season, we would play wiffle ball until pretty much until the lights went out.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I get that pitcher versus hitter, that competitive spirit. It just fires it up in me. And I'm sure, playing against Joel, you get that same that urge quenched whenever you're out there facing him. So, Yeah. So you guys,
I think that's like I said, that's a huge part of it, because it's something that you, especially as you get older and you realize, baseball is not the path that's kind of planned out for you, and softball doesn't quite get that itch like how you're talking about. It's a little easier to hit a softball rather than firing a wiffle ball at you. So there is that competitive nature. You fail so many times, it feels good when you do succeed, and especially with when it came to competitive, I definitely saw the best of the best, and there was definitely that itch when you did get a hit, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen you light up many pitchers, like our earlier guest, DeMacy. I watched him many times, but you just as well. I don't care who the pitcher was. You can tell me he's the best, and somehow, some way, you figure out a way to put the ball over the fence. However, I don't know if that was the case or not when you first arrived on the scene, let's say back in 2002, USPPBA, the precursor to what became Fast Plastic. You played on a team called the Shockers. And we had a stacked region back then, the Abros, national champions of Vipers, Gunners, you guys, the Shockers, and there were like 4 or 5 other teams that were just incredible. Anyway, how old were you then, Ryan? Do you remember going back?
I would say I think the first tournament we played in, I was probably 16.
Yeah.
I remember I was still high school. It was probably, fresh in high school, probably sophomore, junior year. So that puts me about, 16 years old.
Yeah, so you show up at this tournament with all these high-powered teams, men, throwing a ball 80, 90 miles per hour. What are you thinking as a kid coming out there and seeing that? Were you fired up?
It's kind of interesting because at that time we were, still playing wiffle ball in our backyard, and we had some competitive leagues in our backyard. And at that time, we were playing with kind of the pickled wiffle balls, or they're holes all over the place, the circle wiffle balls.
Yeah.
And I remember going to our first tournament because in our league, all that you could use were the metal bats. So when we found out that we could use, like those Ken Griffey Jr. plastic bats, we were all fired up thinking like, okay, here we go, Launch City. And, then you show up and you see the first pitch, throwing at 100 miles an hour and breaking left, right, up and down. I mean, it kind of humbles you really quick to, you're into a little bit of a dogfight all day.
Yeah. There were some guys that could definitely bring it. And I never got an opportunity to play against the top players at a young age. I think I broke in when I was like 27, 28 or something like that. So I've always wondered what a youngster, what's going through their head, and of course, you had Joel that you were always playing against. So you were probably used to it, because I know he was throwing as hard as anybody in 02. So I guess you were already adapted to that caliber. But so were you hitting? Were you able to step up against these guys, like against Balian and the Abros? Were you able to hit these guys?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I was able to hit them, but I was able to at least see the pitch. I'll start there. It definitely wasn't the same. Obviously when you see your brother pitch to you over and over and over, you kind of get the hang of how his pitches are going to move and what to expect, especially when he goes through his windup and releases the ball. But night and day compared to when you see someone that you've never seen that brings it just as hard, if not harder. And I think the amount of pitches back then where, I think Joel, when he first started off, he was throwing primarily fastballs. So it was more of just kind of getting your foot down, timing it, to where when you were seeing, a lot of the drops back in the day, and even just the overpowering, risers and sliders and stuff like that. It definitely took a while to kind of pick up on the pitches of, kind of where to look for the ball and how to react, how to put a good swing on it. So it, like I said, that first tournament was pretty humbling. And I think what we did back then, which, took us so far for so long, was kind of riding Joel's coattails. But I think what helped us back then, at least in the early stages, was just kind of relying on, good old baseball ethics and, put some good at bats together, kind of just grind the games out and just try and win however you can.
Yeah, that's definitely what had to be done in that LA region. It was just every single game, you were there was no guaranteed wins, I guess is what I'm trying to get to. And so if we go on to the next year, so in 03, you guys play again as the Shockers, and it's the first year we're in Austin, and it's an incredible field of teams down there. You guys came in, I think, as the LA champs or the runner-up. I don't remember. You'll have to refresh my memory. But anyway, go on one hell of a run. Make it to the championship game against the Vipers, who you've seen Balian many times. I think everybody there was picking you guys to win the national championship that year. What I can remember from that tournament, and I could be wrong here, but it seems to me like you pitched the majority of those games in that tournament. Am I wrong?
That team, we had a lot of depth when it came to pitching. We had a couple of our buddies other than Joel, threw pretty hard. Probably didn't have as much of the experience maybe at the time. But my buddy Jake, my buddy Fernando, like I think they threw a couple of games. I can remember. I think I pitched more so in the earlier years than as of late, or in the later years or whatnot. But I think I rallied up maybe 3, maybe 4 games. I don't quite remember, but I do remember throwing a little bit more back then for sure.
Yeah, the reason why it seems like I remember you throwing more is because you have a very distinctive windup where you turn your back to the hitter, sort of Louis Tiant, not quite as exaggerated as Tiant would do, but similarly. And I remember watching that, and I think I always thought that's what gave hitters, a hard time trying to pick up the ball coming out of your hand. And it just seemed like every time I went to check in on a Shockers game, you were always throwing. So you guys get to the championship, and you end up losing a heartbreaker, I think 1-0. And yeah, that was a tough one. There was a lot of people there watching that, and I I just remember looking at you and Joel and Josh and those guys on that team, like, man, young guys, you were so close, and it took a long time to get back to that, to that game, to have another shot at it, because the teams got tougher. We got more teams flowing into that tournament, and you really had to be at the top of your game to make it to even a Final Four. So
yeah.
So that kind of takes me now to the next here is, so after that team, the Shockers sort of, I don't know, did you guys disband the Shockers team, or did you transform it? You took on some different players. Can you kind of walk me through the next few years as far as your teams and the players that came and went?
Yeah, I think what kind of happened, again, that first Shockers team was all our best friends, like I said, that we met in the Bay Area at a real young age. And, actually we're still best friends, all live relatively close and hang out all the time. But I think, they just kind of went their separate path. Maybe, didn't see ball as being, the every month thing, where especially we started traveling even more. I think, soon after that, we were eventually going to Phoenix every month or so. But I think maybe that part got a little bit tough. Me and Joel still living together, it was easy to us still, practice a little bit and at least stay in the game. But yeah, I think after that, it was just finding other players that were, willing to kind of put in the effort and put in the grind, and, expecting the win at all costs. And then we picked up, relatively very, very good players, elite players at their time, especially, names that come to mind, like, Rob played with us, Brian from down south, eventually Chuck Hensley. So we picked up some really, really elite talent at the time. And when it came back to the national championship, when it comes down to that single game elimination, anything can happen, especially if you run into, another ace on the other team. I mean, it's all hands on deck at that point. And for whatever reason, we just couldn't get over the hump for, those 3-4 years from like 2004 to 2006. And, we were just fortunate to get back in 2007 eventually.
Yeah, you had a team, I think, that had Martello and Rob Bruner and Joel, all as your rotation. And it's just unbelievable. You got 3 guys there that can all throw 30+ innings. But like you said,
exactly.
It's just unbelievable that you get knocked off. A team like that gets knocked off somehow. That just tells you how competitive things were, in those days, which they still are. But it just seemed like there were a lot more big, huge guns out there on all these teams all over the country. Right now, we're everything is squashed down into the Northeast like how it used to be a long time ago. But anyway, so you played with Hensley for a season. We talked a lot about Chuck last year, about how he's a great guy, great pitcher. What was it like to play with Chuck? I mean, what do you remember about him?
Just when you talk about a pro, it definitely hits home. You think about Chuck, and you know, he is that pro. And the one thing that, you know, baseball aside, or even, you know, talent aside, the one thing I really remember about Chuck is just talking about baseball. You know, especially he had so many great stories about his days in baseball. But I don't know, there's just something about it, especially you know, you say you're facing a tough pitcher or whatnot, and you know, being able to come back and talk about the ins and outs of, you know, what he's throwing, what he's doing, you know. And I think one of the things I recognized too with Chuck, you know, obviously he threw hard, and you know, when facing him, he felt like he was right on you. But I felt like he would pinpoint and work the batter's like weakness, probably more so than any other pitcher that I've really seen. He would just kind of come right after you and with relentless just pitch after pitch and kind of grind you down. But you know, definitely had a good time playing with Chuck. He was a lot of good times with him in the tournament.
Did you ever have any success hitting off of him?
I have one or two memorable ones off of Chuck, but I think he probably got the most of me, more so than not, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's the case with most guys.
Yeah.
You might spray a hit here and there, but that's about it. Mickey, except for Mickey Hyde.
Yeah, there's a reason why you only remember like one or two after facing them for years, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, you're another one of my top 5 greatest hitters of all time. I've seen many unbelievable at-bats that, you know, not necessarily hitting bombs, but just your approach to a pitcher, how you position yourself, fouling pitches off, make the pitcher work, the game inside the game, so to speak. You know, I've been playing a long time, and having the ability to play with you alongside you on the field, watching you at bat, I've learned things, you know, and from watching you, I think I've improved my hitting over the years, and it's always been a real pleasure to watch your approach. But with that being said, you've got to be one of the greatest fielders ever. Just unbelievable. How in the hell did you develop into such a great fielding player? Where'd that come from?
Well, man, I really appreciate it. You probably, I mean, you can't see me right now, but I'm blushing and I got goosebumps just hearing you say that. So I really do appreciate that. You know, I don't know. I would assume, you know, I link it a lot back, like how you're saying, in, you know, 2002 when we were playing in LA. You know, those first experiences of the tournament, you know, I didn't really know what to think when coming into those tournaments, but, you know, looking back at it, when you faced elite talent and that's all that you really knew back then, it just kind of came second nature, I guess. When coming to defense, I think it's, you know, I always wanted to be out there and I always wanted to make some kind of spectacular play. Joel kind of limited the amount of balls for us to chase down and whatnot by striking out so many people. But, you know, I think it's just kind of anticipating it and kind of hoping that the ball comes your way so that you can make a play and help your team out.
Yeah, but you always seem to be in the right position, you know, to field the ball. And if you do have to run down a fly ball, you make it look very easy. Even when we were in Texas this past fall, we had horrible wind, and, you know, it's still you're just doing some incredible things out there, which a wiffle ball, you know, 150, 200 feet up in the air coming down as the wind's blowing. I don't know anybody that can make that look easy, but you were doing that. And then, you know, over the years between you and Mike Cross turning double plays, rolling it up out there, there's just some incredible. And there's actually one that's captured. It was either in a Final Four or maybe in the championship in 2007, where somebody hit a cue shot off the end of the bat, and it goes in foul territory, somehow rolls back in, you know, and Cross dives for it and flips to you at second, and you guys turn two. It's just stuff like that. That's only one that's captured. I've witnessed that happen, you know, many, many times, and I just have to say it's incredible. I've got Ewald as one of the greatest fielders ever as well, but you know, you up there with him, you know, or better. So whatever that means, you know, maybe we have to create an award to hand out at the NCT this year for that.
Appreciate it. I mean, it's many years of practice. I'll put it that way. Many years of just, you know, playing ball. Me and Joel would play like 3-inning games in our backyard, and it was, you know, me versus him. So I'd probably chalk it up to many failed attempts to at least be able to do it in game time, hopefully.
So earlier I was talking to DeMacy about some of his at bats he's had against big pitchers and, or, you know, home runs he's hit, whatever. What is there anything that you think about, any one at bat that comes to mind where you hit, you know, some ball that did something incredible to win a game? Anything like that come to mind?
You know, I'll you know, to the day I die, I'll never forget the home run in the championship game, the 07 national championship. But one that I think goes a little under radar, the one that, you know, I still get kind of goosebumps thinking about every once in a while, is tournament down in, I think it was in Anaheim. It might have been 07, it might have been the year after or whatnot. But it was a game against the Gunners, and it was the championship game. And I remember the inning before, Joel got hit around a little bit. I remember Derek squared a ball up and hit. It was either a solo shot or a 2-run shot to dead center in probably been the bottom of the 5th. Put them up 1, and I think Martello was throwing at the time. First 2 batters come up so the top of the 6th comes up. First 2 batters get out. So pretty much, I think it was a 3-2 ball game, and nobody on base. Pretty much, we were looking not too good, and we're about to go home. And at that time, I think we had a pretty successful run of winning tournaments. So there was kind of a lot on the line. Nothing, I guess, too serious. Still the national championship in mind, but pretty much down 1 run, and the first pitch I see from Martello was just a screwball, and put that one out to deep center. And that's one that I still kind of smirk about every once in a while, because I can't believe that it really did happen. Just went up to the plate, not even really thinking, and tried to not put too much emphasis on the situation. And it was the one pitch I was looking for and the one spot I was looking for, and stars aligned, and that one just kind of helped out. And I'll remember that one for a long, long time too.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. And that's one of many where you would break the spirit of the opposing pitcher. I mean, we would be in these games, and it would be sometimes, I can remember playing in San Diego, and we'd come up against a team that we'd never heard of before, maybe. And, some of these guys, they could throw pretty good for, a game or a few innings, and they think, they've got you. And then you'd be up, maybe second or third at bat against this guy, and you'd hit a home run, and you would just see it. The guy was crushed. That was it. He was done. I mean, he'd be out there, he would throw the rest of the tournament, but after that home run, that guy was finished. And you broke many a pitcher's spirit that way, whether it was in Texas, when we were playing in Phoenix, San Diego, LA, in the Bay Area. They're just many, many, many like that. And I always felt sorry for those poor guys.
It's a guilty pleasure of mine, I'll have to admit.
Yeah. So what do you think was the toughest pitch for you to hit? I mean, I didn't really saw you have many problems with any, but there's got to be one, that where you constantly making adjustments. What one would that be?
Toughest pitch. There always seems to be that, 1 or 2 guys in a tournament that just has, whether it's a funky break on the ball, that is just kind of hard to pick up. And, I guess if they can kind of sense our easiness with that pitch, it becomes real hard to. But once and we might have beat him maybe 1-0 It was a close game, but he was one of the hardest. And from the same release point was a or a different changeup that just kind of dropped off the table. And no clue what is, the same concept in baseball. The regular old fastball changeup is still to this day probably the hardest one to kind of
used to be back in the day, not many guys would throw a changeup. I had a couple, 2 or 3 different down, and I definitely have trouble with it. But the guy you're talking about with that, I can remember a game we're playing Texas where maybe it was Ryan O'Shea. I don't know if you remember him or not, but he was big overhand pitcher through.
I think we faced him in a night game, and he was definitely a memorable one just because of because he was the taller guy, right? Tall, lengthy.
O'Shea, I think he's probably average height.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, there's always a handful of them every national championship that you just kind of sit there and say, "Wow, he knows what he's doing out there."
Yeah. Who do you think has been your biggest rival over the years, team wise? Like, I should say that you look at, you're looking across the field and you're like, man, I really don't want to play these guys, or you're saying, I can't wait, to beat the hell out of these guys.
Throughout the years, there has. I probably had the most fun playing was the Gunners. They're a fun-loving group of guys, and we played them a lot throughout the years, and it was relatively the same team, same faces every year from tournament to tournament. And pretty much always had a good time, whether it was during the game or after the game. Great group of guys and great baseball.
Yeah. Out of the A game, out of the Gunners, great guys, man. They knew how to play, and that's all you ask for as a player. Whenever you get out on the field, that's what you're looking for. And
oh yeah,
I told the story earlier about a game I played in against the Gunners back on a different. Yeah, Derek, he really needs to get those guys together and get back to playing again, or at least he needs to come on the show. And
yeah, there you go.
So I'm getting a text right now. Somebody's like, big question mark. Ryan didn't hate the Gunners? Like, everybody was expected to hate the Gunners,
No. More of a love-hate, if anything.
Yeah, I get that. So what about you and Joel? You guys, I'm sure, thousands of games practicing against each other. Has it ever gotten heated to where, Joel beamed you in the ear? You're like, all right, and let's go at it. Anything ever? How often does that happen?
Our little pickup games, I don't think really ever got too serious. At least from what I can remember, when it was just me and him, it was never that bad. Definitely not as bad as during a game or especially during a tournament run. Me and him get on each other pretty hard when it comes to game time. But, even in our backyard Wolf Football League when we had it, playing against one another because we were on separate teams at that point, I don't know if we got too mad at one another, but it was, maybe it was at our teammates or whatnot. But, we tried not to hold too much of a grudge against one another. At the end of the day, if, we were, like you're saying, having a good time playing and playing good balls, and you just kind of let the game take care of itself.
Yeah, well, that's good. I know for me personally, I always had trouble practicing. Like I could never take practice seriously. Rich Ewald and I were teammates for years, and we both lived in LA and roommates for a short time just so we could play more wiffle together. But he always wanted to practice, and I hated practicing, and because I would have to bat against him, and he's like the worst guy you ever want to take batting practice off of, so I could never take it serious, And so all right, so here's a big question for you. So we got a lot of young guys coming up these days because of the YouTube videos, and which wasn't around way back, and a lot of guys want to be a better pitcher. This is how you pitch. All these videos, this is how you scuff a ball, this is how you cut a ball. Well, you don't see a whole lot, if any, videos, tutorials on how to hit. And I would think that a few guys out there, one, you, maybe DeMacy that was on earlier, Gary Lavoie, some others guys at Whiffman, I think it would be one of the most incredible videos in the history of this sport to have you guys explaining, look, this is how you hit at the pro level of this game. You ever thought about that? And if you have, what would be your advice to these younger players? Like, what is it that they need to do to be successful at hitting at this level of play?
Wow. Man, I mean, you bring up a heck of a point, because, man, I've never seen a video, and even when telling someone about playing wiffle ball, and then you show them like video of someone throwing a wiffle ball, most time that's the instant reaction, like, how in the heck do you hit the thing? I don't see that being a problem. If someone wanted to kind of help out, I mean, we can make the video. I don't see that being a problem. I'll get on Joel about that, and we'll definitely make that happen for sure. But when it comes to, I think the biggest thing, and what would help anybody out, I think it's try and pick it up as soon as possible. And my dad has always said in wiffle ball, if it starts out looking like a ball, that means it's going to be a strike. Which, for the most part, the pitches break so much, they're going to start out of the zone, and then, assumingly that it's going to break back into the zone. But I think picking up the pitch as soon as possible, and kind of knowing what zone to look for, especially if you know what kind of pitch the pitcher throws. So, especially like when it comes to like a drop, for whatever reason, the drop was one of the easier ones for me to pick up real easy, because a lot of the pitchers will kind of tip their pitch during delivery, where they'll keep their chest and their shoulders opened up, because they're going to try and release the ball high, rather than with a riser and a slider, you're going to try and almost drive your shoulders down. So if you can pick up on it at that point, that's one thing. But also catching, wherever the ball is released to, with a riser, you always want to pick it up and away. And then from a riser, you just want to pick it up down and in, or low. But I think recognition is probably number one. And then from there, you kind of pick and choose the balls that you do and don't like.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So when you're in the batter's box and the guy's out there, and you know he's a great pitcher, are you sitting on one pitch? Like you're saying, if you throw me that slider on the outside corner, I'm taking it deep. Or are you keeping an open mind, see the ball, hit the ball? What are you doing?
I've kind of always been on the see the ball, hit the ball, kind of just reacting. I was never a power hitter, especially even in baseball, but, same thing. I just try to pick it up as soon as I can. And I think what helps too, especially in wiffle ball, is being patient enough, but you also got to be aggressive enough, and there's kind of a fine line with that. So I think it's, if you see the ball good, and if you can put a good swing on it, then rule of thumb, I swing. I'm not gonna test how well my eye is by passing up on a ball that might be just outside of the zone. But if I see it good out of the hand, and I can put, you know, a good swing and try and drive the ball up the middle, I'm gonna try and do, you know, take the pitches that I see the best rather than waiting for that perfect pitch.
Yeah, that's good. So, on the subject of making videos, I know you've got a little bit of a background in video. What do you call it? Movie making, videography. What am I? Yeah. So, have you taken that to a higher level, or or is it just a hobby?
You know, interestingly enough, actually, Joel has been highly involved in movie making, especially with him wakeboarding so much now. But as of last month, we actually have been working with a homeschool group here in Tracy, and we've been providing like movie production classes for them. So we've kind of backed off on us making the videos. Especially with, you know, a lot of students and kids wanting to be like YouTube stars nowadays. We kind of found an alternative path and actually showing them how to make their own videos, and then they can kind of, you know, play around with it and have a good time making their own videos.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's fun.
So I was talking to somebody, I don't know, a while back. I can't remember who it was, but I'm pretty sure I was told that you and Joel were taken somewhere to make a video about, you know, like throwing the ball, making it do all kinds of crazy things, and that it was being aired in Major League Baseball stadiums. Did I dream that, or did that really happen?
Yeah, you know, that is a true story. We were flown to, I want to say South Carolina, one of the Carolinas out there. And we were brought pretty much to this big warehouse, and they had a bunch of these trick shots in mind for us to try and do so that they can pretty much film it in slow motion. And then it was going to be aired to, they said maybe 15 to 20 baseball stadiums on East Coast, West Coast, and pretty much throughout the nation. And so the video did get made. I think they had two separate videos. We saw it air in at Oakland Coliseum, that the year after, and then we actually heard from a friend that they aired it in Yankee Stadium that same year too. So it was kind of cool, and hear about it and actually see it up on a jumbotron, especially as you're watching the game and whatnot. But it was pretty interesting. They had some pretty crazy tricks in mind for us, throwing it through, you know, multiple hula hoops. Probably one of the funniest ones and definitely took the longest time was they set up pretty much a candle right in front of their camera, or like a strike zone, and they had the candle burning, and the idea was to pretty much knock the wick off of the candlestick. So as you can imagine, after blowing up like 20 candles, and, I probably threw, it took 45 minutes to be able to get the shot correctly. Because not only did you have to knock the wick off, but you had to hold your pose, because you're being filmed. So you had to make the shot perfect, so there was a lot of things going on. There was probably a handful of times where the ball wasn't close enough. So it kind of just blew the candle out. So that didn't work. But, probably 100 throws later, my arm was about ready to fall off, but we finally got the shot.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm wondering if that video is out there somewhere for everybody to view, or if it's just in the Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse somewhere, never to be seen again.
Yeah, we've tried over the years to contact them. For whatever legal rights, they weren't able to release any of it, even on, Facebook, or even, giving us an email copy or anything like that. It sounded like it was pretty close to the vest. And, I don't know, we fortunately got someone filmed it from their iPhone when it came on the Jumbotron, but it's a little hazy, but you can kind of get the idea of how cheesy and, how awesome it was all in one.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's really good. that's a couple of those now that you guys have been part of with the sports science and then that one. So that's really cool. So
yeah, I have to say, wiffle ball has been very, very good to us.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. The sport has been good to you. So back on the field after a 7-year layoff, made it back to Texas, had some success down there. How did it feel getting back out there?
It was a long time coming. I think when we found out about it, the tournament couldn't really come fast enough. So I think waiting to get in that first game, to see the first pitch again, I think that was maybe even the hardest part, was waiting that whole time until the games actually got underway. But it definitely brought a smile to not only my face, my brother, our families, because it was a big part of our life and a part of our family for those years that when tournaments were going high. So definitely good to see it back.
Yeah, it was definitely good. I know as a team, I'm on GSW with you, Joel and Mike Cross, and our bats were pretty flat to start off. It was obvious, we hadn't seen the pitching, but it didn't take long before it started coming around, and you started hitting the ball. We started scoring runs, and that's really a good sign to be away for that long and be able to pick it up that quickly. That's really saying something. What do you think our strength is currently as a team, compared to, 07, 08, 09, we had some good runs. What do you think our strengths are now compared to then?
I think we touched on it a little bit, especially when the games were going. I think one thing that is somewhat unique, and at least, I'm a little bit biased saying that, but I think we all, somewhat trust each other, especially when it comes to game time of, making that play in the field, or, getting a walk when it's needed, or at least just extend and make the pitcher work a little bit. There's something about, having familiar teammates, knowing their tendencies, knowing your tendencies, to where there's something to be said about chemistry in a team, and, just trusting in one another, and assuming that, one way or another that you're gonna find a way to win the game. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. We got great guys on the team, and Mike Cross. A lot of guys don't know a whole lot about Mike Cross, but back in the day, Mike Cross was one of the best players. Period. He could pitch, and
hands
hit.
down. Yeah.
And he's an old guy. He's an old man now, so a lot of guys tend to forget that. But he's a great guy to have on the team because he is a coach. A lot of people may not realize this, but Mike Cross coached Troy Tulowitzki when he was in high school, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he knows baseball. So anyway, last question I have for you. I'm just curious what you think. Was there any changes in the way the game's played, what you saw in Texas this year compared to back 7-8 years ago? Anything jump out at you?
You know what a pleasant surprise was seeing this so much youth out there. Seeing some new guys and seeing some young, good arms and some good bats. It's good to know that that next wave of talent pool is, they're there, and they're just waiting for that opportunity of, the big game, or, that opportunity to kind of be put on stage for, that next era of wiffle ball. So it was good to see that the talent pool is still there, and the next generations are here to come. So pleasantly surprised at what I saw in Texas, and looking forward to the very near future and what wiffle ball talent can kind of produce.
Yeah, you're definitely right. There's some good signs out there, and one of the main reasons why I started doing this show is just try to spread the word, help grow it, give guys an opportunity to come on here and talk about it. So Ryan, you did one hell of a job. This was a great interview with you. I really appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy guy. I think everybody is going to go back and watch this one many times. So it was great talking to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, you guys. Anything I do to help, let me know if there's anything I can do, help kind of promote the sport. We're here to help and excited to see what Fast Plastic has in the future.
Definitely. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Thanks again, you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Later.
All right. That was a great interview right there.
Yeah, Ryan, he's a pretty good guy. He knows the sport and can talk about all the ins and outs and ups and downs. And
absolutely.
So I was getting quite a few texts from guys during Ryan's during discussion there with Ryan. So thanks, guys, for sending those over and distracting me. I appreciate that.
I don't know. I don't think it interrupted the interview any at all. I think it went pretty good.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I was trying to get your attention, JB, to see if we get our prop put back up there, the bat that fell earlier.
Well, I was doing other things over here. The man behind the curtain.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so anything going on with you? Any news popping up over there on the boards?
There's a lot of scuttlebutt going on here between some of our viewers talking about games coming up and team names, stuff like that. We've got the Bombs over Joel talking about David Wood says our team name is the Mystic Gemstones. Just a lot of different things. There's some trash talk going on over here between some of our viewers tonight.
Leave it to the wily whifflers out there.
Absolutely.
That's what they're best at. They're not the best at hitting the ball or pitching. They're the best of trash talking.
Yeah, we had a late guy join us here from down south.
Yeah.
Joined us, yeah. A guy by the name of Moran.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he joined. So good evening.
Okay. Well, cool. So one thing too, I want to get in here before we run out of time. Get out there, listen to the West Coast Wiffle Report, Two Dudes podcast, Two Wiffle Dudes podcast. Man, what's going on with me? I'm just having all kinds of problems tonight talking.
I don't know. Was that actually coffee you've been drinking, or you put something else in there?
I'm hoping it's coffee. I went up there to the buffet line or whatever it is, and it looked like coffee.
Well, let's hope it is coffee.
So, so that, and then also Palisades Wiffle Ball League, they have a new podcast out. I got a chance to listen to that. It's pretty good. They've got a host on there. Eddie Martinez hosting that. So get over there and check that out.
Well, hopefully as we keep expanding the show here, Fast Plastic Radio Network on 93.5 The Rock, we can start going back to that live stream that we were doing all the time and start broadcasting some of these podcasts when we're not on the air, so people can tune in and listen to them whenever we get them back on.
Yeah, that's great. Just round the clock wiffle sport talk.
Yeah, of course, with me occasionally coming in and doing the live shows too. So, I like to do that, have fun.
Yeah. Time. Anybody want to get in a last second call here to the studio? I guess you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Call us up 618-200-9260. And if you've not friended us on Facebook, WROC The Rock, do so. You'll get updated every time we're live here on the Fast Plastic Radio Network on 93.5 The Rock. It's just a good show all around to keep you updated with what's going on, and you can tune in. Of course, you can always email us too at WROC935 therock@gmail.com. I know email's kind of outdated and obsolete, but we still get some emails once in a while. You can always message us on Facebook also.
Yeah, definitely stay connected. Tournaments this weekend. Mid-Atlantic has a big tournament kicking off the season this weekend. I'm curious to see how things go down for that. Other than that, I actually, that's why we need Millsy on here to tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
I just ran out of time trying to do research with all these guys, everything going on to report the
hopefully by next week we'll have Millsy on here where we can reach out and he can tell us what's going on in the World Wide Web of wiffle ball across the coast. coast to coast. So,
yeah. By the way, the Fast Plastic NCT will be Columbus Day weekend in Frisco, Texas. That would be October 6th, a Saturday. Get in Friday, play all day Saturday, hang out a while Sunday, have a holiday on Monday. Is that the perfect setup or what?
That's a good deal right there. Sounds like a great time. Maybe we get everything set up. We might be able to broadcast that.
Yeah.
Have it live right here.
Yeah, that'd be good. Definitely. So, well, I guess I'm done. I don't have anything else to talk about. I think I got to make a trip to the restrooms.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for tonight. Thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. Everybody from across the country, from coast to coast, and right here in the Midwest. We appreciate you tuning in to the Fast Plastic Radio Network here on 93.5 The Rock. Be sure and check us out on Facebook, WROC The Rock, and on YouTube, the Fast Plastic NCT YouTube channel. Thanks. Have a great night, and we'll be back next week right here on 93.5.
You're listening to the Fast Plastic Radio Network. It's about the game.
I bid you farewell, arrivederci, sayonara, and all that sort of jazz.
What's that smell?
Adios, you chicken-plucking little stinker! Come on! Quit stalling!
As I was saying, Buster, this planet ain't big enough for the two of us. Oh, you go.
Well, I can't do any more damage around this popsicle stand. I'm out of here!
Fluffer and Succotash, I wish you'd reconsider.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
When I say whoa, I mean whoa!
Do I hear amen?
You're mocking me, aren't you?
Darn, that's the end.